ready to get back to exercise after prostate surgery, but worried that you'll leak every time you move? Don't worry, you're not alone. And you can get back to the activities you love without embarrassment and without setbacks. In today's episode, we're talking about how to safely return to exercise after prostate surgery and what to do if you're still dealing with urinary urgency or fear of making things worse. Welcome to Down There, a podcast dedicated to pelvic health and wellness for men and women. I'll walk you through 9 essential guidelines that will help you build confidence, regain strength, and feel more in control of your body again. This podcast episode is for those men who want some guidance to start exercise after their surgery. Those who want to make some changes to improve their quality of life. Those who are already active but want to get back to, say, 18 holes of golf, their workout at the gym, or those long evening walks with their spouse or partner without the adult diapers. And as I talk about this, I want to weave in a true story of one of my patients and how he succeeded in returning to a very high level of exercise after his surgery. Let's call him Joe. So Joe is a very, very active guy in excellent physical condition. I'll tell you, he could run circles around men half his age. He did running. He did intense workouts at the gym. He did a lot of cycling, and he was training for an upcoming mountain climbing excursion. However, all of that got interrupted by a very unexpected discovery of prostate cancer. So with the guidance of his doctor, he chose the option of prostatectomy to treat the cancer. Now, although Joe was told that he would probably be fine after the surgery and he wouldn't have any leakage, well, he still had incontinence. And this really, really bothered him. He was not expecting this to happen. And he really did not want to wear those briefs. So he politely but firmly rejected the advice to wait 6 to 8 weeks after the surgery to see how much of his bladder control would come back on its own. No way am I doing that, he said. I do not want to just wait around. I need to stay active. So Joe decided to take a more proactive approach, and he began physical therapy as soon as he could. He actually started before his surgery to prepare his body for the surgery, and we call that prehab. Like Joe, many guys have the same questions and concerns about returning to exercise. Will exercise make my incontinence worse? What exercises are best to do in my condition? How do I progress to getting back to my exercise level? Or even how do I get started with exercise after my surgery? As a physical therapist, I am a huge advocate for movement-based therapy. Our bodies are designed to move, and they crave movement. And movement is an important part of the healing process. Many of my patients have been encouraged to exercise after their surgery by their medical team, which is great. Diet and exercise are being recommended more often now as part of an overall recovery process, and I am super excited to hear that. I think that is great. However, most men are still given very little guidance on how to make that happen. That big gap still exists. And so I wanted to give you something beyond generic advice of go exercise. And in this podcast episode, you'll learn some general guidelines for exercise after prostate surgery with some simple tips on how you can get started or restarted. Let's discuss those first steps in getting started. And we'll call these general exercise guidelines. Now, to note, These are only suggested guidelines. They're not a prescription. They're not an individual exercise program. I would highly recommend, if you can, reaching out to a qualified health or fitness professional for individual guidance and training. However, you can apply these guidelines to nearly any exercise that you wish to do. That's the beauty of it. So guideline number 1, go slow. Ease back into it. Don't go from totally restricted, which might mean just lift anything under 10 pounds, to do everything, meaning do whatever you want in one fell swoop. Now, always check with your surgeon about your particular activity restrictions. They're probably there for a reason, and do follow those. But don't try to progress too fast. Joe found this out the hard way. He loved doing the Stairmaster at the gym, and he was doing great and felt real confident, and he decided to increase his steps from 400 to 1,000 in one day. Guess what happened? His incontinence got a lot worse. So he backed off the steps, he went back to 400, and the problem self-resolved. Basically, the 1,000 steps was just above his tolerance level at that time. He needed to ramp up his activity more gradually. When he did that, his leakage remained manageable, and he really didn't have any problems with it. Now, how might this work for you? For example, if you wanted to get back to running, maybe start first with a light stroll, then progress to a brisk walk, then a light jog, then running on level surfaces, and then running maybe on inclines or uneven surfaces. Now, some basic self-progression guidance here. Take note of how much your leakage amount changes when you increase your activity level. Are you still able to maintain your status quo when going from a brisk walk to light jogging? Then that's great. Continue with the jogging. But did you find that your leakage got a little bit worse? Well, then back off the intensity or back off the time of the jogging. Maybe not jog so long. Do you find you're still leaking a lot? That might mean your tolerance level is not really ready to move to jogging. So go back to brisk walking for a while and try the jogging later. Your pelvic floor muscles just might need time to gain sufficient strength and endurance to do their job, which is keeping you dry during your exercise. Guideline number 2, breathe. Avoid breath holding during exercise. It does not help you lift better, walk faster, or improve your coordination. The one thing it does is contribute to more urinary leakage usually. Now, you can refer back to earlier videos or earlier podcasts that explains why that happens. The best and simplest thing to remember, breathe, exhale with exertion. An example of exhale with exertion, if I'm going to do, say, a biceps curl, I exhale on the hardest part of the exercise, which is bringing the weight up to my shoulder. I inhale, lowering it. I exhale, lifting it. That helps me breathe better. That also helps me keep a good amount of pressure in my abdomen and my pelvic floor area to reduce the chances of leakage. Guideline number 3, more is not always better. It's okay to work the muscles to fatigue, but not beyond that. See, a tired muscle isn't going to perform better. It's just going to encourage other muscles to compensate for the problem. And that does not fix your main problem. It actually just sets the stage for other problems, and other muscles are helping out when they shouldn't. No good is going to come out of trying to force more work out of an already over-fatigued muscle. I always tell my patients that I'd rather have them do 5 reps correctly than push through 10 or more with poor form and using the wrong muscle just to finish the reps. Classic example, The guy who does 100 Kegels straight out of the gate because he thinks that's going to strengthen his pelvic floor faster. When in reality, his pelvic floor can only really handle 3 to 5 reps. He ends up exercising every muscle but the pelvic floor, and he wonders why he is still leaking. Guideline number 4, the no pain, no gain. Just take that and throw it out. That is not a good rule to follow here. You may experience some discomfort and some soreness when you get back to exercise. That is normal. But to push beyond pain, especially after prostate cancer surgery or prostate surgery, is not recommended. It doesn't gain you anything. So do not listen to the no pain, no gain mindset. Guideline number 5, listen to your body. Okay, now, what does that actually mean and how do you do it? Basically, it means pay attention to what you're doing and be aware of any warning signs. Here's some examples. When you're exercising, do you catch yourself holding your breath? Do you find yourself straining and tightening up during a stretch or a movement? That's a little bit of a red flag. Are you feeling tightness or discomfort creeping up and it doesn't go away as you exercise? Do you notice that you're starting to substitute other muscles or sacrifice good form to just get the job done? And are you having any pain anywhere, especially down there? Do you have just a sense that your body isn't up to the task that day? That's okay. Might be a good idea to listen to that. And maybe instead of strength training, your body needs some stretching and walking that day. Heed that and pay attention. Guideline number 6, be aware of pelvic floor and sphincter fatigue. Now, this usually occurs later in the day, and that's one reason why you might be continuing to leak more toward afternoon or evening. Now, one reason that happens is that your pelvic floor muscles haven't yet gotten the endurance or the staying power that they need to maintain bladder control throughout the entire day. Don't worry, this will improve as you continue to work on your pelvic floor strength over time. One suggestion I have for now is perhaps change up the times that you exercise. Try a walk in the morning instead of the evening. Try working out earlier in the day rather than after work or in the evening. And another suggestion, which is our 7th guideline, is modify. Not quit the activity, but change how you do it while you're healing. Here's some examples. Instead of playing 18 holes of golf, play 9 holes. Instead of one set, start with just one game. Instead of running that 5K, try walking it with good form. Instead of cycling on hilly or rocky surfaces, cycle first on level, smooth surfaces. Instead of doing upper body weights standing up, do them sitting down. This works well with things like bicep curls, shoulder presses, etc. Guideline number 8, lighten up on the squeeze. Guys, don't try to clench or squeeze your pelvic floor all the time. You're just going to tire out those muscles and probably end up worsening the leakage. Also, don't try to squeeze to the max or as hard as you can all the time. Lighten up a little bit. These muscles have a subtle movement. The pelvic floor doesn't always need to contract to its fullest extent for every movement. For example, if I were to lift this cup of coffee, my biceps needs to work less than if I were going to lift, say, a couch or 50 pounds. Make the squeeze match the job. And tip number 9, be prepared. When you go to exercise, do wear a pad or maybe even a brief that might be needed while exercising when you first get back. If you noticed increased leakage, maybe have an extra pad or brief handy in your backpack or in your gym bag just in case. I also want you to know that several sports might tend to increase the risk of leakage. And these might include sports like golf, pickleball, tennis, basketball, running. Now, I'm not saying to stop these and avoid them forever, but again, be prepared, be aware of it, and be willing to modify as you need. Again, having some of those pads handy for that extra activity might be a good thing in the short run. Now, that's great for general exercise for any type of activity, but you might want to know more about how to start with strength training in particular. Wow, there is so much I could say about this. The benefits of strength training have been proven by much research. Now, the research specific to post-prostate surgery isn't as robust as, say, on the research with androgen deprivation therapy. However, the clinical findings are very strong. Yes, pun was intended. So how should you begin strength training if you've never done it before? My advice, it's always best to seek out a qualified personal trainer, especially someone who has experience with cancer rehab or with a physical therapist or an exercise therapist. They can guide you in how to progress safely with your strength training. Let's say you're already familiar with resistance training. Here's a few tips on how to get restarted and stay safe with it and reduce or avoid leakage. First, again, avoid holding your breath when you lift. Exhale during the exertion part of the lift. And try to coordinate that exhale with a light pelvic floor contraction for best results and reduced to no leakage. As I've mentioned before, start out slowly. Gradually increase the weight amount to tolerance. It's also helpful to strengthen the large muscles that attach to the pelvis. For example, your quads, which are the front of the thigh, your adductors, which are your inner thigh, your abductors, which is the outer part of the hip, and your hamstrings, the back of the thigh. Those muscles all work in conjunction with the pelvic floor to help your bladder do its job better. You can still achieve strengthening through body weight exercises only. No weight sets are necessary. Oh, by the way, things like bags of dog food, bags of soil, groceries, even golf clubs can be used as a very functional and practical weights to help you improve your resistance training. And also, remember that the pelvic floor muscles are also skeletal muscles, just like your leg muscles or your abdominal muscles. All of the principles of strength training also apply to these muscles. And you need a super strong pelvic floor now to regain your bladder control and to stay dry. And now for the end of the story. By the way, Joe did succeed in achieving his exercise goals. After 3.5 months post-surgery, he was able to resume his cardio and strength training at a very high level with 90% less leakage. And he also did his mountain climbing excursion. He was happy to report to me afterward that he was now 98% dry. No more diapers, no more pads, an occasional drip here and there, but it didn't bother him anymore. Most importantly, he regained his confidence and self-esteem. Did the prehab make a difference? I think so. And the latest research proves so. I hope you found these simple but very helpful exercise guidelines helpful in just helping you to get started or get restarted in getting back to exercise safely and confidently after your prostate surgery. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, you can contact me through the comments, or you can contact us at www.pelvicconnection.com. We'd be happy to chat with you further. Thank you for listening to the show. Drop in a comment and let us know how you liked this last episode. Do you have questions, or do you want to connect with us further? Perhaps you're ready to take that next step. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Pelvic Connection with Laura McKaig PT. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram at Laura McKaig PT, or visit our website at www.pelvicconnection.com to discover our online programs and resources, or how to work with us in person. Here's to your pelvic health.